gang, this is Steve with Guitar Center. We're at NAMM 2020 and we're hanging out in the Taylor booth with Andy Powers and we're checking out the new Builder's Edition guitars. How you doing, Andy?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you.
All right, so we got some exciting new updates here, and we've got a 324ce. Tell us a little bit about the Builder's Edition.
Okay, so the Builder's Edition idea, as that's now expanded out into a collection, was our desire to be not bound by even our own conventions. We want to build an instrument that better serves the needs of a musician. So to that end, we want to build something that plays great, sounds great, feels great. And this guitar, this 324, was one of the first pieces I came up with when I was thinking about removing some of the extra ornamentation or the lavish details and concentrating on just the woodworking part, just the guitar making. Like, how can I make that music playing experience a better one for a musician? And so this was an instrument that we designed with this beveled armrest, this beveled cutaway for accessibility, the chamfered edge treatment, all built around our V-Class internal architecture. This one, originally, I've been building this thing for a couple years now, and it slowly turned into what we launched a few years back called the K14 Builder's Edition, led into the 614 and other instruments. And so this year, I'm really excited that we get to finally come back to that original guitar and go, all right, everyone, here's an instrument that you can go play. It's an acoustic machine. It's kind of like the hot rod of acoustic guitars.
Yeah.
It's everything that you need and not much else. But it makes this incredibly dynamic and responsive instrument for a lot of playing styles.
And speaking to the woodworking itself, there's a cool story behind the wood sourcing. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, this guitar is really exciting in a lot of reasons. Aside from the fact that it's an amazing guitar, the back and sides in this, we're introducing a new type of tone wood. This is a wood we call urban ash. The forestry model is what's so particularly interesting to me, is when we look around at all of these different forward-thinking forestry initiatives we have. Planting and cutting koa in Hawaii, ebony in Africa, our work with Pacific Rim tone woods, doing maple up in Washington. One of the elements that we're adding to that narrative is the idea of an urban forestry. So what that means...
The trees right along the sidewalk?
Yes, literally that means like the trees that you see on the side of a freeway or in a park or next to a building or something. All throughout every city in the entire world, you have trees that were put there for reasons. A lot of times it would be noise breaks, maybe a windbreak, sometimes for their aesthetic value, for cooling, just as shade. And being in cities, when they reach kind of a mature age, they fall over. And then there's a lot of damage. It's unlike a natural forest where the tree could fall and nobody's around to experience it. When that happens next to a roadway, you notice it, right? So those trees are typically taken out when they become a liability or when they're in danger of doing some real damage to cars or, God forbid, falling over on a person, things like that. And so we started, a number of years ago, we started looking into this just as an option. Like, could this even be? Well, it turns out some of these trees are incredible guitar making woods. So we've started working with a company called West Coast Arborists, who are so far into the future in this regard. They had gone as far as building a log yard without any real plan of what was going to happen to these trees. They just seemed like they were too useful to simply turn into mulch or cut up for firewood. And so we've been working with them. They work on all of the trees throughout every city in California. And so there are thousands and thousands and thousands of trees that they're aware of that are in good shape and should be left. There are young trees that need more time, or there are older trees that are maybe hit by a disease or need to come out for one reason or another. Well, when it's a guitar-making tree, we can utilize that resource rather than allow those trees to simply be lost.
So your 324ce could be a locally sourced tree?
Yeah, in this case, I know from the first couple of batches of this wood that we've cut, these were from sort of Inland Empire and Riverside areas.
That's awesome.
I mean, this is like, it's like the guitar making equivalent of eating local.
Yeah. That's
You know,
cool.
you're looking across the street and going, yeah, that one could work. when that one needs to come down, or if it falls over in a storm, let's pay attention to that.
Nice. So we also have in the 800 series a really unique cutaway.
Yeah.
Sound.
Now this guitar here is what we call an 816ce Builder's Edition. It's built around our Grand Symphony body shape. And as I approached adapting the V-Class architecture throughout all of our different models and all of our different body shapes, the Grand Symphony had a unique set of characteristics. Because if you measure the guitar out with a ruler, the dimensions aren't radically different than a lot of other guitars that we'll make. You know, you compare it to a Grand Auditorium or a Grand Pacific, and those measurements are fairly similar. What's unique about it is the set of curves that connect those dots. Okay, it means that this particular guitar body has a lot of lung capacity inside. There's a lot of airspace in that body. Now that was something I wanted to capitalize on. I wanted to build an instrument that had a very lyrical, almost symphonic kind of voicing to it. Now to bring that out and highlight it, I started adapting a few different guitar making ideas. Now, there are a number of builders who have built like a partial cutaway like this. And that's kind of an interesting idea because it allows the body to maintain a little more air mass inside of it. So if you look at this guitar, from the back it looks like a non-cutaway instrument.
Yeah.
And from the front, you do actually have what looks somewhat like a Florentine cutaway.
Yeah.
It allows you some extra high fingerboard accessibility, but maintains a lot of airspace in the body. This particular one is built with ebony and finished out like the front of the fingerboard. So from the player's perspective, it actually looks like a typical Florentine cutaway instrument.
That's really cool.
Yeah, the sound port was an interesting idea to add into that.
And sort of choosing to put a sound hole there, is that some sort of EQ thing with getting air out of the body?
Yeah, it's a little more complex than simply an EQ adjustment because it has to do with the way this guitar sets air in motion immediately around it. You know, there's a relationship between your first primary aperture and this elliptical second aperture. The angular relationship between the two was really important to me. You know, a lot of builders will put a sound port maybe in the side of the guitar, and for our instruments, that 90-degree relationship wasn't a good fit. So when I can combine these elements on top of the V-Class internal architecture, it gives us the ability to create, on purpose, a really unique voice for this guitar.
That's very cool. Can we hear a
Sure.
sample of it? Amazing. So Andy, to sum up the new Builders line, how many models are going to be in it?
We're introducing 4 new guitars to the existing K14 and K24 guitars that we had launched, in addition to the Grand Pacific 517 and 717.
Cool.
So there's a lot of interesting new flavors.
Yeah.
A lot of different guitars that serve different playing styles and different approaches to the way people are making music.
Thank you so much, Andy.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
All right, so those are the new Taylor Builders Edition guitars. Check them out at guitarcenter.com and see them coming soon at a local Guitar Center near you.